What's up, everybody? Welcome. We are live on YouTube Sunday night. If you're watching this live, like this video, subscribe to our channel. We're picking up steam. We appreciate your support. The more you watch, click, the more people get to see our channel. If you're listening to the podcast, that's great as well. Watch our YouTube by going to the link in the podcast description. Listen to our podcast by going to the link in our YouTube description. We are brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka. Who are we getting a Tito's for tonight, John? Who are we toasting here on Sunday?
I have a toast. I have a toast to a man who used to cut his teeth in minor league baseball, who now owns and operates for 25 years a spa shop in Mesa, Arizona. He goes by Sean Purdy. Produced multiple Division I quarterbacks. One looks like he's got a chance to be, a quicker Drew Brees. But Sean Purdy never took Sundays off because he was slinging hot tubs in an area that averages about 120 degrees for 4 months. And even it's 85 degrees in the winter. But that guy's a worker, a hustler. But I'll tell you this, Sean, so cheers to you. If you want, you could probably sell it. He's about 2 starts away from having a pretty good shot at going nowhere, and you can gravy train that thing like the 17 Garoppolos that go everywhere with Jimmy, including his parents. So cheers to Sean Purdy from Tito's for producing Brock Purdy.
Amen to that, John. Cheers to Sean Purdy. I've got a toast as well. They say the best ability is availability. And I think, as you know, somebody who's grinded in multiple fields now in the day-to-day, that just being consistent, knowing what we can expect from you every day, is a sign in its own way of greatness. And I know every time I watch a big Mike McCarthy game, I'm gonna get what I expect out of Mike. So a Tito's to Mike McCarthy and his Dallas Cowboys tonight. If nothing else, they are consistent. They are reliable. They were unable to execute the kneel down at the end of the game. There were 7 seconds still on the clock. Everyone came running on the field after the 4th down kneel. Weren't able to get it done, but nonetheless, Tito's deserved on the flight home. Cheers to Mike and the Cowboys on that.
If this was a college football show, we'd have to give one to old Mario for.
We can give one to Mario. We can give one to Mario. Mario Cristobal on the list, and people. This is usually like an inside thing, like when someone gets hired away from your company, you're like, thank God, thank you for hiring that person. Oregon fans, when Miami took Mario Cristobal, were grateful that it happened. Middlecoff just suffered a staple.
Well, I had a LaCroix box war wound. I was hoping it wasn't going to rebleed. Someone reposted Mario. Same thing happened. Oregon, Stanford. I don't know if Stanford went down to score, but same thing. Could have knelt it, ran the ball, lost the game.
Yeah, so he's little different because I don't think he could have kneeled out the game. It was like kneel, and then one had to punt with like 7 seconds left or something. But it was immediately. I remembered that game immediately because it was an
Herbert was on the team.
Yeah. We are brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka. As we said, Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's original craft vodka. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly. One more bonus toast to our boy Kyle Juszczyk, who it looked again for the second week in a row, John, like he would have scored a touchdown on a field that was 99.5 yards long, but not on a 100-yard field. But Kyle Shanahan threw him a touchdown. So
he's been trying to get him, clearly, because he ran another play for him. He's been trying to get Juice that touchdown, and he succeeded. He succeeded.
Middlecoff, this was the largest blowout in the history of Niners-Cowboys, the worst loss by the Cowboys to the Niners in the history of the rivalry. 32 points, 42-10 was the final score on Sunday Night Football. It was an absolute dismantling of a team that has once again been trying to convince people that they are a championship contender. But the Cowboys go down hard. I was stunned when I looked down at the game and I thought this one's over, and there were 13 minutes left. It was an ass kicking.
When it was 14-0 and Dak threw that beautiful touchdown, I was like, okay, maybe we're going to get a game here. And then it immediately becomes 21-7, and then it becomes 28-7 out of the third quarter. I mean, it unraveled fast for them. And Dakota Prescott, a lot like last year in the playoffs, is throwing the ball to the 49ers. And if he's going to throw, obviously, 3 picks, they have 0 shot. I'd argue if he just has 1 pick in a game, it is going to be very, very hard for them to win. He cannot turn the ball over and them have a chance. And honestly, he just wasn't kind of looks he hung his hat on being the best guy of kind of that second tier group. I watched the Vikings-Chiefs game. Cousins a better player.
Yeah.
Obviously, the 49ers have the better quarterback right now than him. So it's like the quarterback matchup in this. And then also when you factor in Dallas's team is built around his salary, right? He's the highest paid guy on the team. And as Tirico said, listen, $850,000, a lot of money for all of you Americans watching. Puts you in the top 1%. But it's not for NFL quarterbacks, and this guy's not only making that this year, he's got 2 more years left on his rookie contract, which literally impossible to get any cheaper given that he was the last pick in the draft. So the slotting, whatever his draft signing bonus is, I don't know why I've never looked that up. If I had to guess, I would guess $27,000 to Brock Purdy when he signed his rookie contract.
You're talking about the bonus.
I'm talking like, when you get drafted, you get, a signing bonus. And I think the max you can give now an undrafted free agent, like when I was in the NFL, there was no max. So like the guy, let's say Purdy was undrafted and Purdy was liked by 15 teams. He might get like $125,000. It was almost like politics, like, the PACs. And then they made laws of like, you can only give so much. It's like that now because I think a lot of owners are like, we miss on the majority of these guys that I'm giving 60, 80 grand. Like, let's just cap the number. And if we don't get a guy, who cares?
Right.
And from an owner standpoint, completely agree. Purdy signing, actually, I was way low. He got $77,000 as the last pick.
Okay. Not a fully loaded Tundra after taxes with that, not even close. But he got that for free, and he got a Lucid. And I just saw after the game an Alaska Airlines commercial where he calls an audible, Cabo, and then he throws a football to the Cabo destination. So he's starting to make his money now, Middlecoff. But I mean, look, he's number 1 in quarterback rating. Some of these stats, I got to go to a different website to get some of the updated stats.
Did I move us right there?
You did, yeah. I don't know how you did that. But to your point on Dak, we've talked all season, not all season. It's been a month and change about system quarterbacks, and they did the whole graphic. They put Dak on the beach, and they did a whole thing about how the Cowboys offseason plan. I'm sure McCarthy told Jerry, we're getting rid of Kellen, and I'm doing the Tex Coast offense or whatever they're calling it. And the point of this offense is going to be to turn it over less. And, I think it's a reminder that championship seeding is made over the course of every game. Beat the teams you're supposed to beat, win half the games maybe or whatever against the teams that are as good as you. And that's where you can stack up season-long touchdown, interception, completion percentage numbers.
If Dallas would have beat Arizona, they'd be 4-1. Tonight would have sucked, but they'd still be on pace for 13, 12 wins, right?
That's right. But it wouldn't really change who they are when they play the best teams in the biggest games, right? And that's where Dak, you can do your Tex-Mex offense or whatever you want to do, but it doesn't really change in the biggest games. If you've got some system because your quarterback is a little handicapped, or whatever your perception of your player is, we got to get it out faster because they got a good defense. That's not a problem with your player. That's just how you play good defenses. But whatever your perception of the problem, you can fix it, and that fix will work for, if your team's good enough, 10 to 12 to 13 games. But then you're going to play Philly twice. You're going to play the Niners. You're going to play a couple other good teams. You're going to get tripped up by somebody because we know the Cowboys are an unserious team now consistently. It goes back to the day they hired Mike McCarthy, who got the job by lying to the head coach. He told him he'd watched every play of the offseason in which he was unemployed. Then he admitted in front of Jerry Jones at the podium, lied to the owner, not the head coach. I didn't actually do what I said, but I followed the trends. So his whole thing started on a lie, a big lie, not kind of a lie. His whole thing started on the lie that he grinded, that he did the work that nobody else would do. And it turned out, John, he didn't do the work that nobody else would do. He did exactly what most people would do.
The irony, I think I heard Andy say one time in his interview process that he told Clark Hunt something that he didn't he hadn't seen every film of the Chiefs. He had also literally worked that year and had just been fired. Remember, Mike had the year off.
Yeah.
You remember Mike had that coaching room where he got all the fired coaches to come to him and they just watch film. Mike literally didn't have anything to do.
Fisher was there.
And all coaches want to do is watch film. And he lied to the Cowboys when it was clear halfway through this job could come open where he could have banged out the tape. So to me, it gets down to this. Kyle's creativity is just elite. And honestly, there are a lot of, obviously, McDaniel's doing shit. Shane Steichen looks like a star, right? I mean, the Eagles just figure it out. They're a little, I would say, a little more, nuts and bolts. They just run it right now because it's working with their offensive line. I think Sean McVay's having a really good year. There's just a lot of creativity, with offensive play callers. And a couple weeks ago when they lost to Arizona and they were 1-5 in the red zone, I started looking up some stats of like Aaron Rodgers had a stretch where he was like on the stretch of the greatest red zone in the peak of his powers, like with McCarthy. It was like 180 touchdowns and like 4 picks. It was stupid. He was dominant in the red zone. And obviously most quarterbacks throw the majority of their touchdowns in the red zone. But in the peak of his powers, like it was like Mahomes or Josh Allen, like there was no stopping him, right? He was going to hit who he had to hit. And honestly, Josh Allen's not even on that level. It'd be like Mahomes would be the closest version now, Brady forever. But Brady couldn't move like Aaron. Well, Dak is not some ad-lib player, right? And especially now he doesn't. He looks a little slower than he did in his youth. And like that to me is a big advantage. Like when you look at the two quarterbacks, I mean, Purdy's much more mobile, right? Because another thing that happened tonight, early in the game, I think Chris Collins was pretty good. You can tell he just fucking loves football. Anyone that like bought PFF, the guy's a football addict. Yeah. Like honestly, I bet the coaches love him. I bet the coaches meetings, like those coaches really like Chris because how much he likes football. And he said something
when you watch enough football, just as you and I do and most fans do, and you see enough unprepared analysts, how prepared that guy is. Anyway, keep going. I know people.
I love getting texts from my buddies in the league that are like, I can't fucking take Jonathan Vilma. I get some of these guys who are probably nice guys. They're just bad. And in fairness to that side of the profession, which you do, I could never do. It is not easy.
Especially
it's not
for the
easy.
Guys in the league who really know everything that's happening, right?
Yeah, it's hard. But Collinsworth said something tonight. They're like, Parsons has really been thriving on the left side. It's like, guys, if you either could go through and you were Mike Tyson, but you had to go through like Muhammad Ali and George Foreman in their prime, or just go a couple other heavyweights, wouldn't you just go the other way? Like, if I can move you around, why wouldn't I put Parsons exclusively on the other side? And then right as Chris said it, he was lined up over Trent Williams. It's like, this is coaching 101. There's no machismo credit in this game at all. This is a schematic game. It's going to be a ton of good players everywhere who can outthink the other one. And that, to me, was like a little meathead Dan Quinn. That's not even on McCarthy, because I know he's got nothing to do with the defense. Like, Dan, you just trying to act really tough? Like, the Niners would pay for him. But I'm just saying, like, I would never play him a snap over there. Well, why would you ever fuck with Trent Williams? Like,
I agree with you. But I was just going to tell you, because I saw the play before, or 2 plays before, he got doubled by Kittle and Juszczyk. Like, no matter where he went, I think they put him on the other side first. Like, fuck, they were ready for that. All right,
and that might be the problem. I bet if you really did a deep dive on the tape, if you put him on the right side over McKivitz, I don't know if you witnessed today, but McGlinchey was getting smoked, and I'm like, I'm just gonna type in old McGlinchey to Twitter, and the Denver fans are like, I can't fucking take this guy. And I had a buddy with the text.
He didn't help Russ up. He walked off the field.
You want to hear a text I got from someone who's around some coaches that used to be around old McGlinchey?
Okay.
Basically, the coaches said he's a head case with no confidence, which I would say is pretty telling how many Twitter spats he used to get into. Like, I don't see Trent Williams when he has 3 penalties in a game. Like, I don't see Jason Kelly. I don't see any of these guys giving a flying fuck. Offensive lineman. That's the least of their worries. So say this about Colton McKivitz is like, I don't know anything about him. That's fine. That's how most offensive linemen are that aren't super like Hall of Fame, Pro Bowl level guys, right? I don't know anything about any of the Niners offensive linemen beside Trent, and that's fine. So it's like, what the hell is the difference? The Niners, I don't know how much Colton makes, but I sure as hell know it's probably like $1 million. And I was thinking today watching that, like, that's an incredible, just easy move. Now, in fairness to McGlinchey, the Niners guys liked him way more than they should have. So I wish they would have traded him a couple years ago, would have saved him some money. But McGlinchey is, which anyone that followed the Niners saw, a disaster coming for that signing. But like Colton McKivitz, honestly, like, I'm not saying he's like some answer for the next 5 years at right tackle, but there's no drop off. There's no difference.
Yeah, they've been fine. And Purdy, like, you saw that they rolled that play left, and the pressure came from his backside. He saw it. I thought he was going to get sacked for a 7-yard loss. It was a 3-yard loss. Dak had a couple, here comes Fred. I'm going to waggle on Fred. Well, Fred just sacked him. He had another one. Here comes Dre Greenlaw. I'm going to waggle on Greenlaw. Couldn't get away from him.
The play, you were listening a little bit of Kyle. I'd be fascinated. It went pretty viral during the game that the Lions ran it, the 49ers ran it. If he was, which is very plausible,
18
right?
toss flea flicker, I think was the name, Kyle said.
He's at the hotel, sees it, and do they implement it before the game? Because if that's true, that's insane.
He said it's been in for like 2 years, that
Okay.
Anthony Lynn either brought it up or liked it, but maybe they saw it and like, you know what? It was almost, they ran it from the 38, Lions ran it from the 32.
You're saying that Anthony Lynn's the one that noticed it in the Lions game?
No. I think he made a comment about Anthony Lynn, like Anthony Lynn brought it up like last year or something, or maybe he's the one that put it in.
It's a sweet play.
It's a sweet play, yeah.
And listen, tonight is a good example for sure. One time a game, whether you're playing the shittiest team in the league or you're playing the Cowboys or the Eagles, and sometimes it's 2 or 3 of the plays, aren't just like schemed open plays, schemed open touchdowns from outside of the red zone. Yeah. That could be 40 yards, that could be 80 yards, but it's a touchdown. And they're hitting them this year. They are just hitting them this year. And their explosive offense tonight, because early on it was like, I was thinking coming into this game, didn't watch one snap of it, but saw the box score. Obviously the Bills lost. So Josh Allen, I wouldn't say game
Tirico
momentum.
tonight was like, for those of you who've been up early on the West Coast at 6 a.m., I'm like, Mike, you don't know the West Coast. We didn't wake up for that game.
Honestly, I forgot about it. And Lamar was corralled and not very good down the stretch today. So the MVP is just wide open. I'm like, this could be a game. It is hard. I mean, I don't know if Ed Werder said this, because Ed loves, clearly he's talking to McCarthy, and then he just throws things on Twitter. Someone was like, the Cowboys game plan tonight is to swarm Christian McCaffrey. Like, sometimes, and in fairness, I'm not trying to even shit on Dallas. Sometimes reporters feel like, of course it is. Like, what the fuck? It's just, Van Der Esch is the only guy who's allowed to tackle him. Everyone else just watch. It's like, oh, no shit. But it was clearly, he was, I would imagine, the number one guy in the game plan, and he wasn't going to have an MVP game. Right? They were not going to let him beat them.
Yeah.
And then they just said, okay, fuck it. We'll just have Kittle and other guys destroy, and Ayuk destroy you.
Yep.
And that's what happened.
Purdy was 1%? No, that's not high enough. At least 70%, 17 to 24, whatever that percentage is. 254, 4 touchdowns. 17 divided by 24. Come on, do some math.
I thought the best throw that he made tonight.
Why can't I get that?
Was you just do 17 divided by 24?
There we go, 71. Dak was 14 to 24 for 153. Just before you get to, are you going to get to grading? Just to compare him to Dak. One other point. We mentioned it the other day. Dak was 11th in the QB tiers when Sando did it last year, or whatever, 12th, or wherever he was. Oh no, I'm sorry, he was 9th. He was 11th the year before. He was 9th last year. There's no way he could remain. Now Rodgers is hurt. Right, I mean, Burrow's banged up. Finally threw a touchdown to Jamar Chase today.
Couple. Burrow looked good today. I watched some of that game.
Deshaun, he was 11th last year. Kyler's not playing. Derek was 14th. He had a good game today, but this is Brock is. We talk about these tiers, and I think the tiers are such a good list because you look at them and you go, okay, it's just a reminder every year that there's at the max, 7 really good quarterbacks every year. And then you can start debating everything after that, right? And that's where Brock, he doesn't throw interceptions. He has not thrown a pick. This is insane. If Josh Allen had not thrown a pick all year, now those guys have high-end playmaking, but he's also making plays. The first touchdown to Kittle was not a boom, 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 back foot hit it to Kittle. It was step up, get around from pressure, throw on the move with touch.
Well, because he hasn't really played that many games coming into the season, most people would have probably picked Dak to be a Pro Bowl level guy and not Purdy to be a Pro Bowl guy. But if you look at the NFC right now, Pro Bowl guys, I mean, it'd be like Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, and Brock Purdy. That's a fact. Right? I mean, Jalen's going to end up making it. Jared Goff, start to finish, has probably been, I don't know what his stats are, but pretty fucking good. He's been awesome. I mean, they beat the shit out of Carolina. I know Carolina's bad, and Purdy. Purdy is on pace. And listen, I don't value, I'm not saying the Pro Bowl matters, but it does matter. Like, who are your first 3 picks? Like when it's Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, and then one guy goes to Super Bowl, Josh goes, plays Pebble Beach. Yeah, then the other group doesn't count.
Well,
but
Cousins.
that first group counts, right?
Cousins might be in the first group this year.
Well, yeah, but his team's losing. But I guess his Pro Bowl is a lot like an All-Star game. What's his stats right now?
Well, I got 13 touchdowns, 4 picks, and yardage wise, second in the league.
I watched him today. I watched that game against the Chiefs. I thought I think Cousins looks pretty good. Like it's not. He's the least of their worries.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I mean, but you're talking about like Purdy is above Dak Prescott, and for a while, Dak Prescott has been kind of a consistent, top. I mean, he's never like Aaron Rodgers level, but that next tier of like Hall of Fame guys. Once Drew Brees fell off the map, and before Jalen showed up, he was one of the better players in the NFC. And now the Niners, like with Jimmy Garoppolo, even when they beat the Cowboys, they did not have the better quarterback, right? Jimmy Garoppolo is not a better player than Dak Prescott. So this was the thing we talked about with this move was what happened to the Niners last year and why I think it was like they saw a death and they were so devastated that when they lost that game, because they're like, we've never been this good the last 2 years. Like we are better now than we had been previously with Jimmy Garoppolo, and we like Jimmy Garoppolo, but he was not this good of a player. And the difference of these primetime games from just, if this game had been at 1, like nobody misses it. I just kind of lowballed it, but like I had a tweet that was like, God, all the haters watching 20+ million people watch Purdy become a star.
That might be half.
And honestly, I was tempted to write 30, but I don't even know.
My guess would be my guess is like
a peak
36.
I would guess the first half had a lot, and maybe by the end of the third quarter, people, especially if you live Midwest on, maybe just turn on your TV to kind of fall asleep. But I would guess that first half into the third quarter had fucking the number is going to be. It's going to set the record for so far this year. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. Did you hear Tirico right before kickoff? He's like, it's great to look down and see these 2 uniforms and just realize this is real football.
I had a thought tonight, just one, the physicality of the game. The Cowboys are a physical team, but they were just losing dudes. Like they were getting KO'd, and the Niners just kept getting up.
You of?
What do you mean?
Reminded me of like when it's like, Idaho, week 1 at Auburn. And you watch that game, he's like, Idaho's doing everything they can. But fuck, they're just playing Auburn today. And dudes are getting every series like some guy getting helped off. That's what it felt like.
I did think, though, the colors of that blue and white versus the red is like, if anyone says the Raiders are the best uniform ever again, I'm going to puke in my mouth. Those are elite uniforms. It's just elite mesh of the matchup. Doesn't get any better.
John Tiger Woods seen today at Pebble Beach. Shaking the hand of a young man who got a hole in one. If you look closely, like what is Tiger wearing? A Raiders hat.
Grew up in L.A. in the 80s. Raiders were there.
All right. I just had to get that. I had that ready. I knew there would be an opportunity for that. But it'll be a lot like Monday Night Football, Packers Raiders from Allegiant Stadium. It felt pretty big. Our buddy John was texted me at the beginning of the game. He said he thought it was the most electric regular season game he's been to at Levi's.
I can't speak to the 80s. I wasn't a football. I couldn't consume. But the 94 team, I probably was sitting there like with my dad watching games, but I don't.
You were not contributing any real takes.
And a lot of people say that the 84 team was the best, the 88, 89. So I can't. And listen, most of our listeners are going to be probably 45 and under. Maybe if you're 45, 46, you have some recollection of 88, 89, right? Like I don't remember the Earthquake World Series, but I do remember early 90s stuff and definitely that 94 NFL team, the 49er team. And someone threw out like the clip this weekend of Deion Sanders. They were playing the Falcons, picking off in Atlanta, and he high-stepped starting at like the 50. And I was like, that team, start to finish, I think they had 11 or 12 Pro Bowlers, I think 8 or 9 All-Pros. They obviously had Deion Sanders in the peak of his powers. As someone texted or tweeted back at me, like they had the greatest corner of all time in his prime. They had the greatest wide receiver, and they had the MVP of the league, who's also a Hall of Famer playing quarterback, on top of all the talent around him, including who opened up tonight, Bryant Young. He was a rookie. I think he was like a Pro Bowl player as a rookie, superstar. Somehow the 49ers had a really high pick that year. They had their team was awesome. From Tim McDonald to Eric Davis, it was stacked.
Merton
Gary
Hanks.
Plummer, Ken Norton, Merton Hanks. To the offense was loaded.
I ran into Merton the other day. He had a hat on of Merton Hanks doing the chicken dance.
Brent Jones. This team feels, that team ended up winning the Super Bowl, beat the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game, and blew out the Chargers. It's kind of crazy to think the Chargers went to the Super Bowl.
Stan Humphries, John.
But it happened.
Got their ass kicked.
They got destroyed. This team feels like the upside really is there to be just an all-time great season.
Yeah. I want to follow up on that in a second, but first we're getting some super chats here because the crowd is big. And if you're all here, hit that like button while you're watching live. $20 from JP said Cowherd said Dak was the advantage over Brock for the Cowboys. Brock's a stone cold killer. Go Niners.
I just talked to Colin, and he thinks that Dak's done, can't move anymore, and it's over. And he's right. I mean, part of
from a championship chase, at least, right?
Yeah, like part of having these mobile quarterbacks, and Dak on the mobile end was physically, despite being big, was never as gifted, right, as Lamar, the Herberts, the Josh Allens. Like he didn't have
explosive.
Anthony Richardson now, but he hung his hat on accuracy and not turning over the ball. And now the 49ers have that. And I saw a picture today, someone forwarded me in pregame. It was, when Trey and Brock were talking at like the 50-yard line, and someone texted me, like, everyone calls Brock some like little midget, like he's the tiny guy. And honestly, it wasn't that far away. It's like when Draymond stands next to Clay, it could have been the angle of the pick, but Purdy's 6'1".
Yeah, I mean, going to a lot of training camp, and you have to, when you see Sam and Trey and Brock next to each other.
Sam's 6'4".
But I'm just saying, like, Trey is closer to Darnold in terms of when you see him on the field size-wise than he is to Brock.
I'll just put this in perspective. That many consider, and, last night was pretty impressive by the young man, that Caleb Williams is one of the better prospects we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he's pretty freaking good. I not that I was not there. I just, it was my classic kind of pushback against the masses.
Right.
And the knock on him I've heard, which is really his only knock, is he's a shade under 6 feet. He's like, in scouting terms, it's 6'006. So he's like 6 3/4, or I don't know exactly.
Shade under 6'1".
Shade under 6'1". So he's like 6'00 something, which does, if you're 6'010 would be 6'1". Purdy's basically the same height. I don't know the weight. Clearly, Caleb is really thick, and obviously Caleb's faster than Brock. But I'd say physically, Caleb has a better arm. I'm not saying Brock is as talented as Caleb.
Height.
I'm just saying physically, they are pretty similar.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Purdy's combine numbers, height, but Purdy, what do you think
Purdy's
Caleb
not
weighs?
Skinny.
Purdy he weighed 212 pounds at the combine. I bet right now he's 215. What's Caleb? 220?
225. Yeah, 225. Caleb's built.
Caleb's got a big fucking lower body.
Yeah. Like, Debo and Brock were screaming in each other's face at one point. Because Brock's celebration is just he finds somebody and screams in their face mask to face mask. And their helmets are about the same, right? But Debo obviously looks good.
I feel like Brock is going to bust out, and I really want him to. The famous Kellen Moore.
The guns.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Remember that? He threw a touchdown like in the BCS game, and he did one of these.
Yep.
I just feel like Brock should incorporate that. It's
gunslinger.
Turn into
a gunslinger.
It's like a little guy. Like, I'm not good enough.
Kellen
and I'm
was
just
like the
eviscerating
most
somebody.
prolific quarterback in college football history. But
what if Brock becomes that in the NFL?
I know. A couple more here. Cocoa Puff, $2. People can keep disrespecting Brock. Flav. Have never been more embarrassed for someone watching Trey warm up, knowing he probably wasn't getting in after Purdy was pulled with 4 tuts. The part that to me was disingenuous by NBC is like they're like, oh, Trey's warming up. And I'm like, yeah, zoom out. Cooper Kupp's on the other side, or Cooper Rush, or whatever his name.
Yeah.
Cooper Rush.
He was playing catch with the backup.
Cooper Rush is the one warming up. He's just throwing it back. John Jonas Lima gave us 50 Brazilian, which is about $9.71. Thank you, Jonas. Purdy's like water. Water finds the path of least resistance in the terrain. Purdy finds the path in the defense. That's why his throws look easy. Scouts are unable to evaluate that. His best attribute between the years. Cheers from Brazil. So there you go. There's some of it. I want to follow up on you said it could shape up to be a special team, and you're right. I was thinking during the game, because we had a lot of time to think during the game today, that as Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner were just flying around, somebody tweeted at me. Tiago said the Niners linebackers are like Green Bay quarterbacks over the last decade or two. Just set it and forget it. And then I saw TJ Watt said, with so much offensive firepower, getting plenty of well-deserved attention, and a defensive player of the year in Bosa, it's hard to highlight everybody. But is there a better linebacking duo in the NFL than Fred Warner or Dre Greenlaw for the 49ers? And it got me thinking, are the 49ers, and then they did like the Dak, the Cowboys, Tex-Mex, West Coast offense. Are the 49ers an offensive or a defensive franchise? I think everybody would just immediately go, Bill Walsh, West Coast offense, offensive franchise. And of course, they've had incredible offenses. But I went back and counted since 1981, which was Bill Walsh's first Super Bowl year. In the 42 years, including that year and since, when the West Coast offense were born, the 49ers have been top 10 in scoring in the NFL 24 times.
It's a lot.
You know how many times they've been top 10 in scoring defense in the NFL? 25 times. This is a defensive franchise that I think people think is an offensive first franchise. And the real answer, if you're not making a take out of it, is that they're a balanced franchise. But when you're watching these linebackers today, and I was texting you about it, it's like Jim Harbaugh took this defense they were in the 20s and 30s when you go back and look what it was pre-Harbaugh. He turned them into a fucking monster overnight. He left. It completely died. Jim O'Neill couldn't do it. Kyle and John came back and had like the magic potion. You know, like in a movie where somebody dies and then somebody has like the magic kiss and they just bring them back to life. They just brought the defense back to life. If you didn't know any better, you would think it was just the same defense from 2013. Like, they just got the same dudes a little younger and just did it again. It's a defense-first franchise. That's what the 49ers are, and they've been miscast as a West Coast offensive franchise for the last 40 years.
I think if you look at their three best coaches, I mean, it'd be four, and Harbaugh and Kyle have not won a Super Bowl yet, so it's like, in fairness to Seifert, he won two. But their three best, most famous coaches is crazy. Kyle and Harbaugh, or would you say are more famous than George Seifert, even to this day? So Bill Walsh, Jim Harbaugh, and Kyle Shanahan, all three offensive guys. Walsh and Kyle, obviously offensive play callers. Jim, former quarterback, really wired more like a Hufanga meets Javon Hargrave than he is some guns, Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. So it's weird.
More rushing yards than Bo Jackson in his career.
But it's a crazy stat. All three guys really, really value not just defense, good defensive players, and their defensive coordinator. And I would say that's a theme that can be very hit or miss with offensive coaches. Think about the last two off season for the 49ers. They signed Ward and Hargraves. Those are their two big signings, a corner and a defensive tackle. They obviously pay Greenlaw early, which looks fucking genius now, and just gave Nick Bosa a historic amount of money. Turned Hufanga into a late drafted hybrid player that most teams, when I don't know where he's going to play, into an all-pro, have developed these other corners to just give them more than serviceable bodies and keep rotating and finding these other defensive linemen. He really, really cares about defense. Also, the way Harbaugh and Kyle coach is a physical style. Well, you don't practice against this isn't, college basketball where you work against managers, right? Or whatever. You work against your own team. So the ones go against the ones. Why do you think Lincoln Riley's team struggles sometimes? Mike Leach is his mentor. Their offense, while historically potent with Mike at all his different spots, and now Lincoln, because he's at better schools, he can get more talent, is not really a physical offense. So it's hard to, even if you don't, Dre Greenlaw is a good example. He benefits on a daily basis from going against this team. If you put him on a different team, maybe he doesn't become what he becomes. You improve and develop in practice based on who you're going against. Why do you think so many Alabama and Georgia guys are so ready for the NFL? It's not just the games. Think of what, if you were interviewing me and I'm a 4-year player at Alabama, you'd be like, you know the guys I went against in practice every day? In practice? I'm talking about practice. Where in football, you practice way more than you play. Greenlaw's like, I've been seeing, hell, I'm watching the Dolphins today thinking like, God, fucking Raheem Mostert looks sweet. He's like running over guys.
I know.
So
Elijah Mitchell's going to be good on the Dolphins.
Well, they got that new dude that like Achani or whatever. Yeah, he's just
H-Chan.
who's like the fastest player in the NFL. But you have offensive coaches who really, really value not just defensive players, their defensive coordinator. Like Kyle takes that position very seriously. Harbaugh clearly did. Fangio was his guy. And even in Michigan, clearly they have very, very good defenses. But to me, it's also the way they practice. Like Harbaugh practiced physically. Why is his team in defense one of the more physical defenses in the league? Well, his offense wants to play that way. So they practice against it, 3-4 days a week. And then you benefit from those two guys look like Bowman and Willis today. I mean, they did. And I had people, and I tweeted this out, and people were like, I think these guys are better. Like, listen, those two, it didn't happen long. Those two guys in their prime is as good as it's ever been in the NFL. It might only been 25 games together in their peaks, right, together. It doesn't get any better. And there were a couple plays a day, because Fred's a Hall of Famer. Like, Greenlaw is kind of, I wouldn't say come out of nowhere, but he's become a really good player the last year. But if he's going to play like that, then it's like, holy shit. Because Fred dominates. Fred's elite. He is on the trajectory to go to Canton, Ohio. But if that's going to be, this version of Dre Greenlaw is going to be his running mate, it also made me think today, and Hufanga had a couple plays, sometimes deficiencies, like the 49ers are clearly lucky with finding a 7th-round quarterback, getting rid of Trey, and paying nothing to quarterbacks, right? They got Allen, Sam, and Purdy make nothing combined. But they also have 3 players, 2 of them are extended, at positions that just are really cheap, that fucking annihilate people. Greenlaw, obviously Fred, who's a highly paid guy, but relative to other
Never
players,
talked about his contract.
Ever. Because it's just a normal, it's pennies relative to a lot of positions.
Yeah, and it felt like he was the best player on the field when the Niners defense was on the field against the Cowboys.
Even the one play where he kind of jumps, but even Collinsworth, to be able to kind of jump, but still keep your balance, it's like when I get a shot fake, but I kind of do a shot fake, but you don't get me, where if you go up again, I'll block your shot.
Right.
That's kind of what he did.
You on the sack? You're talking
that
about
play was sweet.
Yeah.
Greenlaw's sack, I don't know if he got credit for a sack. I think it was behind the line. It was badass too when Dak kind of scrambled. Like, this guy's like a heat-seeking missile right now. Greenlaw was the first play of the game when he body slams the guy.
I got to say, I thought the officials, when they didn't throw a flag on that, and then they also didn't do it when Juice got kind of thrown out of bounds late, I was like, all right, big game. Like, we don't need – that's okay. Like, we're – let's let a little football happen here.
But also I was glad too, because the level of physicality that both teams had to. I mean, this was going to be a heavyweight trying to not KO guys.
Yeah.
So you can't just expect they're just pulling up. Now Greenlaw, it's one thing to kind of shove a guy when you're going full speed. Greenlaw suplexed the guy.
I know it was. I thought egregious. I couldn't believe it.
Honestly, and listen, I love the violence. I yearn for the violence as a consumer. I will not apologize. He is so strong, and he throws you so hard. This is not pro wrestling when you're kind of faking it. If he gets the right small player, he could shatter their back.
I know. Like, if he does that to a quarterback, he's not getting away with it either, right?
No. Well, he could only do it at the sidelines. He can't do it. He might get tossed out of the game if that was like Mahomes. Don't you think?
Yeah. It'd be hard. Patrick's big, but Robert, is this was it that lopsided? The Niners are good or the boys unserious? The boys are unserious, but I didn't come away thinking their defense is soft. Like, I do think their defense is good and physical, and like they are, right? I mean, do you look at Dallas's defense like they're not who you thought they were?
I thought coming into the season they would be like a 13-14 win team. That more were like an 11 win team. Already that Arizona loss, they're not going to win the division. They to me feel like they're steamrolling toward that 5 seed again, and I think it's kind of same old song and dance. Whether they play the Eagles or the 49ers in the second round, it's adios. And then to me, I think we start shifting our conversation. This is a 2-horse race. And honestly, you could argue, like, I don't think they play this year, but are the Lions better than the Cowboys?
I think the Lions, and I'm not a Lions lover, as you know, coming into the year, but I think the Lions, I would trust the Lions more than I trust the Dallas Cowboys. Yep. I think they have a fundamental core of what they are, which is comes from their coach, who has made mistakes, but I think they're fundamentally. I think part of the Dallas problem is I think they're kind of stale, like as an organization, and they know it. And they've been trying to find solutions. The second you start changing your offense for your quarterback, you've got a problem, right? Which is what they did this offseason. They're stale, and they've run out of ideas, and they're not disciplined enough to get into a dogfight back alley with somebody and just find a way to win without their best. Dallas can't beat a good team without their A game. And that's not a championship team.
Well, you want to go into the Purdy grade because I think one thing, not that the 49ers were stale, but sometimes you just need to get injected some life. And I think the Eagles, for example, they lose their coordinator. So it's like, and we just lost the Super Bowl. We got something to prove, right? The 49ers, Jimmy, the same song and dance. You knew it was going to be very, very difficult to win a Super Bowl. Then you get injected with this. I think he's given life to the other guys that matter because they've taken it up. Obviously, the addition of Christian McCaffrey has fucking helped, but I think the Purdy injection has taken this thing to another level.
Yeah, you're right. And how do you measure that, right? That George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, all these guys believe if I do my job, I can be as good as I can possibly be, right? Brandon Ayuk, you're right. That's a good call. That you're saying Brock makes them feel like they can maximize their talents.
And that like we can't just, it's one thing, they always thought they could beat anybody, and they could. It would just be like, God, they just won that game 23-21. Whoa. It's like we are just scoring 30 plus with ease. I thought the best throw of the night was to Ayuk where he layered it and it was a penalty and it came back. It was like, that is a dime.
So let's, John, that drive was their first possession after halftime. Dallas comes out and scores 21-10. So it's like, okay, if it's going to be a game, Dallas needs to stop right here. Starts with a Trent Williams false start. So it's 1st and 15. Then he layers the ball over Van Der Esch by a fucking hair.
And Van Der Esch is like 6'4".
That was a throw to Ayuk. Yeah. Unbelievable. Then it's McCaffrey. Then it's 3rd and 4, and that's when he hits Ayuk on the Burford throw to the sideline. Like, all right, well, 3rd and 14. Deebo, wide ass open over the middle, hits him in stride, 43 yards. And then this is the Juice gets like a 7-yard run or catch. I didn't make a note. Deebo gets a yard, and then this is the drive where he does the back pedal, waits, flips it up. Kittle runs under it, touchdown. That was a really good, like he made 4 really good throws. I'd say probably 2 excellent plus throws on that series. It was a really good series.
That was the drive. The throws he made that counted and didn't count, and ultimately for the touchdown, that for anyone, and listen, I actually do believe sometimes in the business of talking about sports, whether on TV or whether with a mic where, you're on radio, podcast, or whatever, I think you can, rightfully so, if you're not watching every snap, be like, let's pump the brakes a little bit on this, right? This guy is a system. I don't agree with it, but I don't think it's as crazy as saying like LeBron sucks or, right. Some of the shit that gets
whatever
said.
It is, 18 games. Like
exactly. It's like, fair. It's very understandable. 18 games?
Whatever the number is.
I think it's like 13. Yeah,
5 this year.
8.
Yeah, plus the Miami game, plus the postseason.
Okay, the postseason, yeah. Okay. But there is we've seen a lot in the NFL. Guys start fast and not sustain, and guys also start slow and come on. But that was the type drive where you're just like, holy shit. Like that's like, if Dak had that drive and it was reversed, everyone would be going like this that loves the Cowboys and talks about the Cowboys. What gesture,
just for the listeners, did you just make?
Just a little hand movement with the right hand.
Got it.
Like I'm
thumbs
rolling,
up.
Like I'm rolling dice, And that was the drive where. Here's the other thing with Purdy. I don't have to really. I have to go at the end of the game. Like I don't have the iPad or the phone with the box score up. I have no clue what his numbers are. Besides, like that's his second or third or touchdown, or I know he hasn't thrown a pick. Like I know he has a pick, but tonight I had no clue what his box score was. But I just watched the game and like this guy's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And listen, like for example, the Lions play. That's a great example of the guy is wide open, Kittle down the seam. The Niners have missed that throw with Jimmy Garoppolo, who's made from the Raiders paying him and the Niners paying him over $150 million. His likelihood of consistently hitting that throw with the guys, it wasn't totally in stride, but Purdy made sure he didn't miss him. Like even if he had to slow down like half a step, he was still going fast enough.
He just threw it on a line is what he did.
Yeah, he didn't want to overthrow it, right? Jimmy has missed that throw, I feel, more than he's made that throw. And it's not always that throw, but it's down one of the seams or down one of the sidelines where it's schemed up. And Purdy hits that consistently. And then you factor in the layered throws. A good example, right? The Ayuk layered throw, it's like penalty. Like, oh my God. That used to devastate the Garoppolo era because it's like, he can't do this again. And then boom, Debo, right? And then boom, touchdown. It's like, of course this fucking guy made the drive. And it's just like every single time, answer the bell, answer the bell, answer the bell, answer the bell. Yeah, does he benefit playing with sweet players? Of course. Dak ain't playing with scrubs. You think the 49ers will take CeeDee Lamb or Tony Pollard? I mean, they got like the guy that he ended up getting hurt, but caught the touchdown over his shoulder was a really nice catch.
Yeah.
Like, that guy's clearly pretty talented. Like, Cowboys got Dak crumbles like a cookie.
So, we all fundamentally know that quarterbacking is hard, and yet when it looks easy,
do you always feel like you know his stats when you go to the box score?
No. Like I look today I always look at halftime because I just write them in my notes. Here's what was going on at halftime, just because then it's quicker to look back and go, oh, McCaffrey only touched it X amount of times in the second half, or this would happen in the first half, right? Whatever. But I had no idea when I went and clicked today what it was going to be, because you're right. You don't have to look. You know good when you see it, and that's Brock. And now statistically, Brock also backs it up. I think what's funny about him, and I agree with you, I got no problem. I was DMing our guy, Ethan Strauss, about this because he wrote a big Brock piece the other day. And I said to him, I don't understand, not just from a content standpoint, he's good for business, but there are people, I've seen this a lot the last few weeks, is like, the conversation's over. It's done. I don't want to hear it anymore. And again, from a content standpoint, I'm not about that. But also just fundamentally, like, guys, we've all watched careers look good for 2 years and then not be good. All you can judge is what we've seen, and the fun of it is projecting it. And I don't think there's a more fun conversation in all of sports than debating if a young quarterback who looks good now will continue to be a really good quarterback. I think it's the best thing there is. Nothing better, other than Jordan or LeBron. But kidding, hate that conversation. But here's the one thing we fundamentally know, because we've all watched a lot of football. Quarterbacking's really hard. So when Brock has these moments in games and drives where it looks easy, I think it's crazy to just attribute it to, well, Kyle makes it easy. We fundamentally know it's not easy. We've seen a bunch of Kyle quarterbacks make it look hard because it's fucking hard. It's hard. For the good guys, it's hard. So here's Brock making these throws. Sometimes he almost makes it look so easy that we just assume it must be easy. But it's not easy. It's not easy to read defense. It's not easy to know where to throw the ball. It's not easy with guys running at you. Here's the other thing. It's not like he had total clean pockets early in that game, right? And I text you this, I think, or maybe Dickinson early in the game. Like, let's just see. They had that great drive. Then there was 3 and out. Dallas is getting after him a little bit. Like, how does he handle that? Does he get jittery? Nope, didn't. Hasn't gotten jittery yet. No, he hasn't thrown a pick yet. He hasn't had a 3-pick game. But that hasn't happened yet, right? You would think if that was going to happen, that would have happened by now. Just like, once you hit him, he changes. That's not the case with Brock. Once you hit him, he doesn't change.
Yeah, so, and Jimmy used to. I mean, you could kind of rattle Jimmy. I mean, and I don't mean even rattle him. Like, I don't think he was rattled. I think mentally he kind of stayed
just normal quarterback stuff.
Yeah, it just kind of throws you off. I would say right now that it's not like hyperbole or overhype. Like, he's been one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL in 2023. And I mean, like, what's it going to take for him to throw his hat? Like, if Heath has 38 touchdowns, could he win the MVP?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like I would say that.
If he has 38 touchdowns, how many games do they win? 13 minimum?
13. I mean, I think this team's on pace to
I'm
win
just saying,
16, right?
Okay, so let's say low end 13 and 4. How many 14-win teams are there going to be? Maybe one, maybe two. And you tell me he's thrown 38 touchdowns? You're right. I mean,
he had 9 coming in today. He threw 4, so he's got 13. I mean, 35 feel high because there are going to be some of these games if they get, he'll run the ball.
Yeah.
They're going to have running touchdowns, and one of their wide receivers gets the ball from a running position, right? On top of, Mason ran the ball hard enough, like he's getting more carries after the way he ran, right? That guy, that was
McCaffrey's a system running back.
Maybe, but McCaffrey's clearly going to get a ton. So could he win an MVP at like 30-3 if they were 16-1?
Well, yeah, I mean, if they go 16-1, those 3 picks, I mean, yeah. But 30.
What does his touchdown need to be? Because remember, guys were winning it with like 48, 50.
Yeah, 30 is really low. I mean, and you have to. We're only 5 weeks in. You just have to believe that in the end, Josh Allen and Mahomes and Burrow and Hurt, like these guys are all going to be there, right? Statistically. So
the thing him and Jalen, the Chiefs shit. I mean, I was watching the Denver game. They're like, the problem for the Broncos is they play the Chiefs 2 of the next 3 games. I was like,
my God.
They play them this Thursday night. It's Chiefs. So 13 divide 5, 2.6 times 17. I mean, he's on pace for like 44 touchdowns.
That's an MVP season if you win 15 games.
Well, if he throws 44, let's just say 6. 44-6, and they win 15-2, and they're the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Is he the MVP?
That's an MVP. Yeah. I mean, does Mahomes throw 50?
Yeah, let's say Mahomes throws 40. Let's just say Mahomes throws 40.
Josh Allen, who hasn't won one yet, that matters.
Chiefs don't lose very often either. If their wins aren't as sexy, but I've been paying attention, like 14-3 minimum written all over them right now.
The beauty is the Niners are going to play a ton of these. And it's not college football where it's like, was it on national TV? Because the MVPs play on the best teams, so they're on national TV all the time. So that's just the way it works. But yeah, that puts him in the conversation. We gave him an A+ grade last week. This is an A grade.
Purdy has more touchdowns than Mahomes so far this year.
Okay, but part of it is how does it look when you watch it, right? But this is an easy A grade. This is a cruise to an A grade. Are you going A+ on this game tonight, or what are you doing with Purdy's grade tonight?
Yeah, I mean, just if you have a couple incompletions, to me, an A+ is just an all-time great NFL game, right? It'd be like 28-30, 4 touchdowns, no. It's just something like statistically.
Mahomes, I would guess if we went back and look, we'd go like Mahomes has 3 a year.
That feels high too, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have some incompletions. I don't see how it's not an A game, given the moment, given the importance, given how calm. His body language is an A+, the way he kind of carries himself. I'm not even talking like the sweet plays. Like I see why Kyle likes this guy. I mean, Jesus Christ, this guy looks like an NFL quarterback in his mannerisms. So let's play a quick game right now. Let's just go through some quarterbacks. Would the 49ers trade Brock Purdy for Patrick Mahomes?
Yes.
Josh Allen?
Yes.
Justin Herbert?
Yes.
Jalen Hurts?
No.
Would the Eagles trade Jalen Hurts for Brock Purdy?
Not a chance.
So it'd be a no-no.
Do you think the Niners would do that deal right now?
I don't, because they don't really need his running. Like they want
different offense.
But the Eagles would also say no.
Right.
Quick.
Right, and rightly so.
Rightfully, the Eagles would say no faster because the Niners would be like, let's just have a conversation. Obviously, we're not going to do it, but like
Jalen could win the MVP.
So Trevor Lawrence.
Like today, right now, I think you can make the case the Niners would not do that deal. Is that crazy? Am I crazy?
I think when you factor in,
feels crazy to say that.
Like what the guy, know the guy. Like what they know of Brock Purdy, they say no.
Feels like if you gave Kyle Trevor Lawrence, it'd be pretty sweet. But does he see the field as well as Brock?
Is there like the just the deep down the chutzpah? What is it called? The chutzpah, the just the fire in his belly. I don't know. There's something about Brock that I don't know if that Trevor has.
I think
Honestly, I think the knock on Trevor is like, how much does he really care?
Yeah.
Obviously the Cousins, the Jimmies, there's a long list of guys that you would obviously any of the young quarterbacks know. Joe Burrow, the Bengals would immediately say no.
Yeah, you'd have to trade him for Joe Burrow.
I think the 49ers would. I think Joe Burrow would be pretty good in this offense. I think he'd be pretty good in the offense. I'm trying to think if I left out any this week. I think the 49ers, that would be like they'd have a conversation even if they came back with a no. I think under no circumstances would the Ravens trade Lamar Jackson.
Not a chance in hell. No.
So Deshaun Watson, the 49ers would hang up. They wouldn't want that.
Irony, they tried to get him. Stafford, they tried. Stafford.
I watched a lot of Stafford. Stafford looks pretty good. He's the age, the money. That's a no for the Niners.
Yeah. We leaving anybody out? Dak, obviously the Niners would not do that deal.
Yeah, not that matters. So I think it's the crew of guys.
J. Stroud.
Listen, you can't even play that. The Niners would say no. But Tua. of the Burrows, the Niners would take Brock Purdy over Tua.
Kirk Cousins.
If you factor in age, money,
could have started with him
immediately. No, yeah, and Purdy's more athletic. So really, if you're talking like the only guys that the Niners would trade him for, are basically Mahomes, Herbert, Burrow, Allen. I mean, that's like the guy. If you and I were in the video game business, we'd like build the business around those guys to sell to the kids, right? So it's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's like the Elway, Marino, Jim Kelly. If those are the only group of guys that are immediate no's, and Lamar too. I mean, he's MVP, he's a star. That's fucking. This kid has shot out like a rocket ship of respect. Because honestly, I think that conversation, as every week goes by, like, it's not just me and you. That I think a lot of people would have, and Jalen would have the agreement of the people we're talking about. You could I haven't watched Trevor Lawrence closely enough, but I do know about the wiring and where Trevor said, like, I could live without football. That shit to John Lynch, who turned down $80 million to work 1 day a week, who said, no, I want to be in the trenches with this fucking crazy guy named Kyle Shanahan. Those guys value when the clip tonight in Tirico, they had like, what position do you want to play? And Brock Purdy's like, quarterback. Like, what if you play? He's like, quarterback. Like, that guy likes football. This is why I think they gravitate him. There's a self-confidence and everything to him. But I think his like true love of the sport is very relatable to like Fred, Hufanga, who goes to fucking high school football games on Friday, to Debo, and Kittle, who like yearn to run people over in football. Christian McCaffrey, who is clearly, and Juice, like football nerds. Like they love, remember Juice told us, like Christian looked at me, like his second meeting with Kyle was like, I don't want this shit to end. This is incredible. It's like they're going to
run the offense if they had to. They can't throw like the quarterback, but if you could put Juice or McCaffrey.
We've seen. So it's like you brought a guy, and this is what I think why Bill's fallen apart. Because when Bill had Tom, it was very easy for him to like match with their guys. Yeah. And they all kind of fit. And now with Mac, it's like, what is even going? It's all out of whack. Yeah. Where Brock was the easy puzzle piece. Even Jimmy, like looking back, I think they liked the guy and they liked hanging with him. But it's like there was another level that Jimmy clearly didn't have of just being obsessed.
Well, you know what was the thing with Jimmy, and this was always, I think, Brady, even as Brady's life changed and he became a bigger star, what was Brady's thing always? And you've done it, I've talked to guys who play with him. He was one of the guys. And Jimmy clearly from a hangout standpoint, but there was a clear kind of, well, yeah, that's the star quarterback, and it's kind of like the star quarterback things, right? That was the Jimmy vibe. And Debo's a star receiver, he does star receiver things, whatever. So maybe I'm grasping at straws here. But there definitely was that, like, dating the porn, just all that stuff is like, he's just a little different. If you guys all walk into a restaurant together, he's going to get a different table, right? Now, he may not take it, because Brady would get a different table. But that was always Tom's thing. It was just Tom is one of the fucking guys, right? And you're right. We can't say that Jimmy wasn't. But clearly Brock is too, at minimum. He's like them.
And then, I mean, this is ultimately like the whole point of having a player is for them to play in the game, right? Beside all the character works hard. Like they have to play well. and Brock is just a better player. I mean, that's sometimes because it is fun to talk about all this other stuff, we get away. I mean, I know we've talked about his throws and stuff, but like he is just such an upgrade at the position. Like they're not really having conversations of like even their stars. How do we upgrade Dre Greenlaw, right? Or how do we upgrade? Like there's a value I think with Eric Armstead that they like having around. Now, I would big picture macro, I have a lot of respect for the guy and the way his career's played out, which how I thought coming out of Oregon it would come out. But that's a guy that makes a lot of money that they're paying for a lot of the intangible leadership stuff, which they love the guy around, that it gets to the point where it's like, it gets a little out of whack. I haven't super locked in on 91. It doesn't feel like he's playing at the level that he once played at in his younger days, right? And he makes a decent amount of money. But I also could see him like taking a pay cut to stay around. Like he loves this whole group, and they value that. So I think they have the ultimate mix right now. The Patriots had this forever. The Chiefs clearly just have it. And I think the 49ers finally, but part of having it, you have to have the quarterback who then can execute it. So you have the guys who are fucking awesome players, who are in love and addicted to football, no balance, even though the media always gets mad at that when you bring it up around draft times. Like, let the guy live. He wants to be a painter in his offseason. It's like, no, I just want the guy to be football obsessed, please. I'm paying the guy a lot of money. And the 49ers have that, and they have the talent, so it's just kind of meshing at that level. I think the Eagles, I don't know how much of that game you watched, but there were a couple blow-ups. Jason Kelsey started screaming at coaches. Sirianni had one of those, like, legendary screams at Jalen. And it's like actually very normal. Like their guys, like it's like a healthy tension because their guys are all just like football guys.
Right.
So it's like the 49ers don't necessarily have that. It's very rare. Like Kyle doesn't yell at the guys really. How many times have we really seen him yelled at Jimmy like once? He's just not really his style, but Sirianni's a little more edgy, I think. But they just have guys that could get yelled at if you needed to.
That's right. Coachable, but it feels like they hold themselves player led, but also actually coached, right, from the standard that the coaches set. Tobin, can Niners find some NIL money for Purdy? Seriously, they are finding NIL money for Purdy everywhere. Just go look. It's like the Niners sponsors somehow suddenly become Brock partners. He's going to be doing Zenny before. How about the Kittle Zenny? They stepped up their commercial.
I haven't seen it. I don't get it. Is it good?
It was just different. It was like a little like they spent some money on their commercial. Stadium was chanting, "We want Trey" halfway through the third. NFL can make an anti-bullying PSA about it. See, I don't like that. It wasn't his fault, man. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah, but this is, in sports though, when you get in these positions, and it's tough. I mean, because you go from a couple years of checking your bank account, you're like, I'm the starting quarterback. The coaches and the organization, the whole city's just all in on you. To a year later, they don't give a shit about you, and they're kind of. It's weird. He never really fucked up bad enough on the field, like a screw you moment, right? Like you ruined our season. That's not really what it is.
Yeah,
but it is sports ultimately, and it's like.
It's a reminder. This is where he went. He went to that place, right? He didn't go to an under the radar, no bright lights. Like he went to that place, and it's not. I don't think it's the best place for him, but he'll have a new coach.
But Mike, but here's the reality of his situation. He was going to go whoever offered them the most, and they offered so much more.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like the second it happened, you and I both said bad, not ideal for him, for Trey. That's all.
Well, he's in a blowout game, and the backup comes in, and it's not even him.
Right.
His highlight, as we read earlier this week, was that Scott Tolzien takes the pregame warm-up very seriously.
He was very sweaty, I saw when they showed him in the pregame.
I saw some highlights of some, like he was getting after it.
The workout.
Like he takes it very seriously.
Yeah.
It's like when you're the 13th guy on an NBA team, that fucking 3 hours before the game is kind of your game.
That's your championship. Yeah.
Do you shower before the game?
Good question. You go put the pads on. You might. I would. I'd go freshen up. Let me get my game skin on,
Depends probably on the temperature. Like if it was a freezing cold game, that'd be a cold,
maybe
sweaty.
Not. I would pregame freshen. I mean, the showers, it's just, it's not like your house. You just walk in, walk out, whatever.
Would you say Kyle's the coach of the year right now?
Yeah.
Feels like he's a leader in the clubhouse.
I mean, at some point, like, maybe we'll stop giving it to guys who win 7, 8, 9 games. But I would say yes. And he's in the category of hasn't won it, is clearly one of the best coaches in the NFL, right? Kind of needs his due.
Be interesting to see how many games a guy that would have a shot. I don't even think he would have to win as many games as Kyle. Like if Kyle went 15-2 and he went 14-3, I think Mike McDaniel would get a lot of votes.
Can Mike McDaniel win it before Kyle Shanahan if they both have great years? I mean, if he beats out the Bills in that division, that would be coach of the year worthy.
If he's the 1 seed in the AFC,
yeah.
I wouldn't give it. I'm saying, but you could just already see.
I'd have if Mike McDaniel's the 1 seed in the AFC with a quarterback that everyone wanted to throw in the trash, then he is absolutely deserving of coach of the year. Sometimes there's more than one deserving coach. So if I voted for Kyle and you voted for Mike, I'd be like, well, you're not. If he goes whatever 13-4, 14-3,
I see it here, and I'm actually scrolling through the records and the team I came to. I think if he won 14 games with the Detroit Lions, I think a lot of people would vote for Dan Campbell.
That's a good one. Absolutely. But this is what it becomes. It's like, well, how about the guy's been dominating for several years? What about that?
I know, because Kyle wins 15 games. Was like, well, you won 13 last year.
Look at all your stars. Yeah, on the team I built. Like, what they weren't. What are you talking about? So,
with Dallas falling off, I am glad that Detroit, I think, is going to be pretty good. Like, you don't just want it. I just want more good teams to make it all interesting.
Appropriate fear. I'm 100% there with Detroit. Appropriate fear if you have to play them in the postseason. Now, the one thing they have is Jared Goff, which you play well against that guy. But they're a physical football team. They're not just Jared Goff having a career year. They're a physical football team. Honestly,
the guy that scares me the most in the AFC is not even Jalen Hurts. It's A.J. Brown. It's like, is Charverius going to chase him around, or is he just one of those Shermans where he only stays on the one side?
Well, but this is why you might have to score 34 points.
Yeah.
Don't turn it over. You got to, yeah.
He's got to throw a pick.
They are paying him a lot of money. He's good. Like,
I meant Purdy is going to throw an interception. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it might happen this week in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. Browns.
10 a.m. game, by the way, Saturday.
Must win, or could this be kind of territory where you... well, Deshaun's hurt, so he's got a fucked up shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, Philly's unbeaten. Detroit, you lose the game, and Detroit, who does Detroit play next week? You lose the game, and Detroit wins. Detroit plays Tampa. I mean, they could... on the road, so they could lose that game, but
Tampa off a bye too.
Yeah, then Tampa's for if you lose to the Browns, you're going to have either the same record as the Lions, or not the same record as Tampa, but Tampa will be 4-1 and you'll be 5-1, right? Seattle's then 4-1 or whatever. Like, you're just, the second you lose, well, no one else has really lost yet or one loss. You're just all of a sudden you go from we're so much better than the rest of you peons down there to you're just hanging out with everybody else all of a sudden. And we think you're better, but that's just where your record is. So
you see the story last week with the Browns
breaks.
On Sunday. Deshaun messed up his shoulder a couple weeks ago and went to the field pregame, was a game time decision, could throw, but looked at him, said, it doesn't feel right, and didn't go. And I saw some people this is why you get the guaranteed money, so you kind of bro, you get injured. They're putting you out there clearly. They're not worried about your long-term health, right? They don't want you to hurt it. So the doctor's telling them it's a pain tolerance thing, and you just tap out. Yeah, I was like, well, Brady, $230 million. Are you sure you can't go? Because for as fun as DTR was in the preseason, I'll promise you this. If for whatever reason, and I'm not expecting him to, he better be ready if you're a Browns fan. If DTR played against the 49ers, that is a 100% lock 49er victory. The Browns don't have a snowball's chance in hell, even if the 49ers didn't take it as seriously. He could not beat them. And I don't even think Deshaun Watson, like, fully healthy can, but obviously they have DTR cannot. Deshaun at least can if things go right. They cannot beat him with DTR. Like, it's not even football possible. Do you agree?
Yes, outside of just like 4-pick game, like crazy, the crazy, right?
Their defense is good. Their defense is really good.
Niners B- game still wins that game on the road, which winning on the road is hard with a B- game.
Their defense is
But
actually
he is a mobile quarterback with a good coach and a good defense. So I don't think it's not. I should say I don't think it's not football possible.
Their defense actually is like statistically going into the Baltimore Ravens game was elite. It was the best defense in the league, and they have.
So Dallas was right there too.
Myles Garrett, if he's fully healthy, I think he got a boot leaving the game. Their corners, it's a very good test. They're rested.
Weather in Cleveland, Ohio.
I bet it's not. I saw a couple weather games.
56 and rainy right now.
Yeah, what game was I watching today? Where maybe the Bengal game? Like you can tell the weather there. It's no longer 95 degrees everywhere in the country.
You turn on Sunday Night Football and it's like
fucking beautiful. Yeah.
What is this? This is spring ball? Packers Raiders. Anything else on the Niners? We get some more notes here.
Yeah, when do you really go? Could this team be undefeated?
Good question, John.
Probably 10-0. You really?
I would say. Yeah, I think you got to win 17 games. So I think, would they win in 19? 8 or 9? Their first 8? Were they 8-0, 9-0?
I think they were 8-0.
Yeah. And I don't remember really talking about it much at that moment in time. The other thing is they got to, the fact you got Philly week 13, Ravens at home. Part of it is their schedule. Like, I think you beat you win the next 3 at the Browns, at the Vikings, Bengals, hit a bye. Then you beat the Jags on the road week 10. So you're 9-0.
At Seattle, Thursday night Thanksgiving, it will be a tough test late in the season, short week.
It will be. But to answer your question, I think if they are 9-0 after they beat the Jags on the road, that's November 12th. So we're into November. I think it comes a conversation then, because you look at the schedule and you go, okay, how many of these games are they going to be favored in? Bucks at home, at Seattle, at the Eagles, Seahawks, at the Cardinals, Ravens, at the Commanders, Rams, like all of them.
Yeah.
Maybe at the Eagles you'll be an underdog, right? They might be an underdog at the Eagles. I shouldn't say maybe like that. They could be an underdog at the Eagles, depending on how Philly's playing.
If they played this week and the game was in Philly, what would it be? Niners -1, or Eagles -1.
Yeah, less than 3, but they'd be favored. Agreed. So I think that's when you start talking about it, because 3 of the next 4 games are on the road. Like, it's just hard.
But at least with that game, assuming health for both teams, you're just getting both teams' best shot. Like, it's a coin flip game, getting the best teams. I do think the Seattle game is a curveball, just short week up there, late in the season, body type. They're tired too, but it's such a huge advantage, a massive advantage. The Thursday night game, I would say, really like mid-November on the home game, just because those guys. Look at the way the 49ers play, even though their guys weren't dropping like flies. Like, that's a physical game, and they play like this every fucking week. I got that game circled of, if they went 16-1, I wonder if they're more likely to lose that game than the Eagle game. If you told me they went 16-1, I'd be like, I bet they beat the Eagles and hell dropped like a random game,
which would be fine. I had no interest in seeing that. Like, undefeated would be cool, but
I think undefeated would be pretty legendary.
Undefeated would be legendary.
But the thing, if you go undefeated, you have to win the Super Bowl.
Well,
it's just that simple.
Yeah.
You go undefeated. There is no anything beside the Super Bowl is a failure. You win 73 games, you have to win the NBA championship. Like, you go 15-2.
Totally.
If you lost some barn burner to the Chiefs, you'd be like, God, that was fucking that was a heartbreaking, incredible year, but holy, that hurts. You're remembered forever.
Absolutely.
Remembered forever if you lose and
I
don't
think
win the Super Bowl.
The thing I don't like about, like,
making the Super Bowl, I'd even argue, like, if you were to lose in the championship game as an undefeated team, would even be more devastating.
Does it put pressure on you? Yes. Could they handle it? Maybe. They feel like a team on a mission. I don't love the idea, like, being 17-0, running away with the 1 seed, and then, like, playing the Rams at home week 18. Like, what do we, like, I hate that conversation. Like, what do we do? Like, you fucking play Sam Darnold is what you do. But do you? I mean, you got a chance to be legendary. You go for broke, right? I don't like that situation.
Well, remember Polian did that in the 2000s. They were 14-0, and they're like, we're not playing for this hollow record. And looking back, a lot of people talk shit like you should have just done it, and then they end up losing. I think in the AFC Championship game.
And maybe you do it not for the record, but you do it just, hey, if we're out all gas, no breaks, we got to, like, I do watch them right now and go, can they keep this up? This team on a mission effort that they've got. And I think I keep saying it, but it's, I think, indicative of a team that hasn't won a championship yet. I think if they had won, it'd be really hard to play like this coming off a championship. Kansas City doesn't.
No. You look up, they're like 13-7 against the Vikings. I mean, it's just, through 2 quarters. Because it doesn't matter. They're not playing. It's just, we're just playing big picture seeding, working some things out. Every week for us is not the Super Bowl. We play in the Super Bowl. It does feel like for the Niners right now, every game felt like this with the Patriots in 2007. Now, they had the added element of Spygate, so it was like us against the world. The 49ers don't really have that. The only thing they have is like, Brock Purdy is goddamn legit. Everyone's going to see it.
Nick Wright, hear me now.
That's all they have.
Yeah. Jordan on the stream, J-Ram, can Steve Wilkes get some love? It has gone, as well as it could possibly go. For the 3rd coordinator in a row.
It is. Now, we'll see. Saleh, great head coach. I don't know. I think D'Amico's a star. Wilkes is clearly really good. I mean, Wilkes is honestly more proven than Saleh, right, in terms of coordinated at several different places. Robert's only one. He's not even coordinated now. But it is, I think you would get much more criticism for sucking. Like, if this didn't work, then praise for being good because of who you inherit. And this is Steve Wilkes probably going to get, I would imagine, several head coaching jobs, interviews this offseason, right? Been a head coach before, proven as an interim coach. Kyle's going to be singing his praises. So it's going to work to his benefit. But it's a pretty incredible place to step into, right? Like, take nothing away from Steve Kerr, that first championship, year 1. That was an incredible accomplishment.
Right.
And they hadn't won one in forever. But he'd be the first to tell you it was a pretty sweet job to take. I get Curry, Clay, Draymond, and Iguodala goes to the bench.
But it means your mistakes are magnified, right?
It does. It's intense.
And you have to know your shit because the team is looking at you like, we have something special. Don't be the weak link. And obviously he's not. He's a high-level guy. Anything else before we hit on a couple other rattle-through? Raiders-Packers Monday Night Football, John. Allegiant Stadium.
Well,
Mark Davis hosting the Niners in the Super Bowl.
Also, do you see who else he's hosting? He's about to be back-to-back champions in a league.
Oh, the final started. The WNBA final started?
The highest league in all of women's professional basketball. He will be back-to-back. I think they set a finals record in the WNBA. Points in a game. Came across a ticker on my phone. I had to move it because I was tweeting about football, but it said something about it. I knew they were playing. Mark, I'm sure, was in attendance given that his football team didn't play, but he's
big week for him.
Like his father, legendary father, Hall of Fame father. He will. I don't know if they play 7 games, 5-game series. Don't exactly know all the deets of WNBA playoffs, but he will be a multiple-time champion like his father. He'll be 1 championship away from matching Al Davis 3 championships.
That's a great call right there. I thought Robert Saleh naming Nathaniel Hackett a team captain this week was a good little story.
I didn't even know that.
Every Friday, the Jets have 3 captains. On Friday, Robert names a 4th captain based on the week. And this week, he named Nathaniel Hackett the captain, and then he gave him the game ball after the game.
When we get off, I'm gonna go. I'm sure the Jets posted that, right?
Yeah. The locker room goes crazy.
You can't under any, and I honestly have. I always struggle with, and I understand there's like a coaching code, but do you know what's so bullshit about that? All these coaches privately talk shit about everybody. So it's like, it's so disingenuous.
It's not, though. There's a difference between saying somebody who's a good person, saying that they're shitty publicly. I mean, when you're Sean Payton, you're saying it to the world versus like talking about it with your buddies.
But here's the thing, and this goes back to the garbage comment from Rodney Harrison. When something is like universally being discussed, everybody In football, coaches, players, fans openly were mocking the guy, saying how shitty he was as a head coach.
Yeah.
And then when Sean Payton publicly does it, now you can say it's not kosher because no one ever does it. Yet everyone constantly talks about it when the microphone's not on. So, listen, it is what it is. But if you are going to do it, I had no problem with it. You cannot lose that game. And not only can you not lose that game, the moment Rodgers tears his Achilles and you're getting Hackett with Zach Wilson, it's not a fireable offense because you know he's not going to get fired. They're paying him too much money. But that is one now. It's like you could argue that is as bad or right up there with the 70 points. 70 points, they just kept running it up. Your defense quit. You fucking hired Vance Joseph. You wanted Vic Fangio, but he refused to go back to Denver. Get it. You can't lose to Nate Hackett and Breece Hall running down your throat.
Let me ask you this. If you're...
Did you see the play at the end of the half? They had no timeouts, and Zach and Nate calls the play. Zach throws it. It's like 14 seconds left. They're in field goal range. The guy gets tackled. It's like, Nate, you can't call a play. That's on you because you can't give Zach Wilson an option that isn't just like in the end zone or throw away. If you give him the dump off, he's kind of robotic, dumb football play. Like you can't. That to me was on Hackett as much as Wilson.
Also, you can't, guys. You spike it. You're running up. There's 4 seconds. You're not going to get it. You can't spike it. You got to run a play. You're not going to have time to spike it, right?
Well, did you see Zach?
Seconds.
He kind of like walked to the center. Someone tweeted back at me. They're like, "Did you see the effort Zach Wilson had to get to the line?" Zach was like cruising to where the ball was being placed. It was. I'm not trying to write the Jets for some incredible operation right now because they're holding on for dear life.
Let me ask you a question. If you are, what's Mr. Penner? Is it Penner, right? Owner of the, or he's the CEO? Rob.
Well,
Walton,
he's the CEO because he's married to the
Married.
daughter of Walton's dad. Her dad's the Walton.
Right. If you're that guy and you're just sitting back having a Tito's and soda right now in the suite where you painted the end zones white while the defense was wearing all white today and made their defensive players invisible. It's hard to play when the defense is invisible, but not a great matchup of field and opponent uniforms. Is there any part of you that's like, did we hire the right guy? Would that thought, I'm not saying hot seat, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying, do you think it'd be human right now if you're the owner of the Broncos to wonder if you hired the right head coach?
I think everything's going through your head.
Yeah.
I think everything's going through your head. And I think one guy who has to regret this is Sean for taking this job. You took a job where you were tied. If you go back and read Sean Payton, he was bringing Vic Fangio with him. He was bringing Vic Fangio, and Vic was going to go wherever he went. Well, Vic's like, Sean, I can't. They fired me 12 months ago. Like, I'm not going back there. So that was the one place he wasn't going to go. And also, he wanted to go to a place he goes to a place with a quarterback. I think if Sean Payton could do a redo, he would have waited 2 years because this year things are going to open up with some draft picks. You're going to be able to start from scratch and really influence it. You went to a place that had given up draft picks, that had to give a draft pick to get you, and I would say 2 years out, it would have been a little less expensive, but the Saints still had some leverage. And the Russell Wilson thing, the general manager thing, it's a fucking disaster. So, yeah, I think ownership's got to be thinking, what the hell are we doing? Sean Payton's got to be thinking, what the hell am I doing? That is easily, to me right now, just the worst situation when you factor in. Like, that is the new Gruden. For a while, it was Gruden because, like, 10 years, $100 million, right? Like, what do you do? That, to me, that's the new Gruden situation.
Yeah.
You just, I mean, does a New York Times article come out on Monday Night Football? And,
Yeah. Man.
You cannot lose that game if you're Sean Payton.
No. And you said it knowing you play them with Aaron Rodgers when you said it.
Did you see the thing that went viral of the tight end CJ Uzoma, who comes out, the tight ends and the quarterbacks come out, but he leads the chant? I mean, obviously Rodgers probably would if he was there, but Zach does not lead the chant.
Right.
And he's dropping, fuck these guys, fuck them.
Yep. Not like they rolled in there and beat that ass.
No, they didn't.
Crack them cheeks.
They didn't. There was a play where the little punt returner who had the game winner against Buffalo, the one on punt return, what UCLA did, USC, everyone's celebrating them grab that guy and throw him toward the ball. I think that is such chicken shit and bullshit. That is not like something.
John,
I think
it's evidence that they've got a problem.
that's an embarraing thing.
I agree. I saw that and I thought,
do you think Kirby or Nick Saban or
not a chance? I saw that and I thought they are like that. To me, that play was a bigger indictment than the fact that they were in triple overtime with Arizona.
Would Kyle Whittingham allow that shit to go on in his program?
The first guy I thought of. I was like, what is this? Because here's the problem. It doesn't work. No, nobody coached that because it's
not allowed.
It's not allowed. The officials are not going to give you the ball if you throw the guy into the ball. And you know what happened on the play?
No.
The USC players are trying to throw, for those of you who missed it, USC punts. Arizona guy, everyone's backing away. 3 USC guys grab the guy, try to throw him into the ball. Newsflash, the officials, if they throw him into the ball, are not going to call it a fumble. The ball, as they're doing it, one of the USC players accidentally kicks the ball back towards where the punt came from. So when you do that, it cost them 10. It cost SC 10 yards.
So the guy on the Jets muffed a punt, but the punt.
I'm glad you said that because I saw that play. Everyone's laughing at it. I'm like, this is. I saw that play and I'm like, they're not winning the championship.
Yeah, it was low.
Now they got Caleb, so maybe. But yeah. Anyway, keep going.
It's low level play, but the high level play is the Bronco guy, the little dude from Hard Knocks, who's a punt returner, good little player, runs up but stops like 2.5 yards ahead of him, the halo, and just stands and is just staring at him. The guy then muffs it and he falls on it. And I think Tiki Ronde, one of the barbers, is calling the game with like Matt Ryan and 7 other people in the booth. It was a lot of people. It's like, gee, why do you have all these people, CBS? And it had to be Tiki. And Tiki said, what you do in that situation, the moment he gets close to you, is you take a step forward and you run into him, and it's immediately a penalty on him. Because it's impossible to not get a little rattled even when the guy's it's just going to throw you off a little bit.
Yeah.
You're used to guys running by you. You are not used to a guy staring at you. And if the guy's smart, he's probably screaming, you're going to drop it, you're going to drop, he could just rattle you. Yeah. He said, all you got to do is you take one step forward, even if the thing ends up hitting on you, the moment he touches you is a penalty on them. And it's just like, that's the difference of like high level football because that game, I don't know how much you watched. I ended up watching a decent amount. It was a debacle of fumbles, of fucking sacks.
The thing, John, you look at, if I pull up this, I'm like, what game do I want? I got Red Zone. What do I want to watch? There's no good games this morning. So it was like, all right, I'll watch that. It was like Ravens Steelers, which was a fucking mess. And that game.
The Jets Broncos, though, I gravitated. It was interesting because of the other dynamics. Yeah. Even like I wouldn't watch that game without some of the drama. Wouldn't have been as interested. I was dialed on that thing, and part of it, and this gets back to the Gruden thing, losing when you're in that position. I mean, Sean Payton's disaster is one of the biggest stories in the NFL right now, right?
Yep.
I mean, is
that and Belichick, I would say, like in terms of negative stories, that'd be the other one.
For sure, but the thing is, Belichick, what Sean can't help, and Bill, do you see? I just saw some clips of Bill.
Well, he pushed the mic down; no one can hear him.
He's never going to say anything. So it's you're going to be screaming at him, but Sean fucking snaps, and Sean's going to say other stuff. It's
Bill
coming.
Did say today, he said, we're starting over this week. Someone's like, one of the reporters like, have you ever started over before? He's like, yeah, I've done it before. And the guy's like, what does that entail? And Bill goes, just starting over. Starting over.
Bro, they've lost like 69-3 the last 2 weeks. I think they had a 14-0 lead, and Derek didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, Mac threw a pick 6 to Honey Badger. Now, Derek did make some plays as the game went on. If I was a Patriot fan, last week, the Dallas thing, I mean, you thought the Cowboys are a playoff team or whatever. To have Derek Carr and Dennis Allen kick your carcass like that after everything, especially these Patriot fans, like they've seen the highest level. They've had some devastating losses too, but they just know, like, Derek Carr and Dennis, it's one thing to like the Cowboys 11-12 win team. Yeah, you're trying to make a wild card.
It's not a reset year. You didn't make me
Derek Carr and Dennis Allen come in and do that. Derek, in his career against the Patriots, has not been good against Belichick, especially in New England. He's lost a couple games.
Tiki Barber used one of my notes. I forgot. How about Ronnie Bell for the Niners?
Yeah.
Catching 2 punts on punt cover. Well, one he caught straight out of the air. That was pretty awesome. You see that? Wishnowsky punts it to the 5. Ronnie just goes and catches it down.
Shocking that a Harbaugh guy fits right in with this culture.
No, good call. Let's see. I showed you Tiger Woods, SC3 overtimes, whatever. Miami Neal game. We mentioned that.
Well, why did they run the swinging ladder play that Caleb juked the guy and ultimately had an incredible
1-4 flat? I think is what you call that in basketball.
What were they doing?
It worked.
I mean, it worked because the guy made a remarkable play.
Because it's Caleb.
Yeah, but
Steph
ultimately it's a
Steph
passing.
one-on-one and clear him out.
You think is that all he's doing?
That's what I called it. That's what it looked like to me immediately. Basketball, where you wave everybody to the corner, and you're like, all right, if we put everybody over there, they got to go over there. It's going to be you versus one guy. Beat him to the pylon.
Don't even risk a bad slant or a tip ball or anything.
I mean, there've been so many. It's like, how many 2-point plays do you have?
I got a couple texts.
Arizona should have gone for 2, I thought, at the end of the first overtime. But
you and I texted about it, and I remember watching the game, Jed's thinking a lot of times when you go for 2 in that spot, you're a huge underdog, which they were.
Yeah.
But the talent discrepancy, I'm watching the talent, and you're going, my offense is just as good as your offense. Then thinking about it today, and I got a couple texts from just random buddies that were like, why the fuck what do you got to lose? Just the game? You're a huge – just go for it in that situation just to end it.
Here's the problem. It turns out.
Is it the 3-yard line in college football?
Yeah, 2.5, 3.
So it's a little longer than the pros.
I think it's the 2.5. You're saying it's opposed to the 2.5?
I think it's at the 2 in the NFL, right?
Oh, I thought it was the 2.5.
I'll have to text
Andy.
Okay.
But here's less than ideal. Keep to yourself. Jed said after the game that he needed he got some clarification from the officials on when you start going for 2.
Well, he put out the field goal unit on
Didn't know.
The second one, right?
It's not okay.
Has he ever played in an overtime game? Probably 2 overtime game in college? Probably unlikely, right?
But same with Mario. Fine. If you don't, crystal ball Miami, if you don't know that you can just kneel it when the play clock is 40 seconds and there's 32 seconds left in the game, that's unacceptable. I'm paying the $8 million, but you should have somebody on the staff with the little chart that says, just kneel it, bro. Just kneel it.
I think the kneel thing is unacceptable any level. That's beyond crazy. The overtime rules, obviously, when I think Jed Fish, and if you just look at his resume, a decent amount of time in pro football, is how locked in on is he with just the nitty gritty of just college football rules? Because that's just one. How many people watching college football
watch the game? They throw the rules up every time. You're in meetings. They've told you, they have told you the rules in a meeting. There was a meeting where they told you the rules. That happened. It's just not, John. I mean, it's it's the game. It's the thing. This is what we're paying you to do, to manage the game. I agree with you. I didn't think it was obvious until afterwards. I'm like, God, you're just putting the ball in Caleb's hands. You just from 2 yards away. The game, for people who don't know, it's touchdown, extra point, touchdown, second OT. You got to go for 2. Third OT and on, it's just 2-point conversions. That's all it is. Back
because they don't want the game to go 10 hours.
Right. 7 OTs or whatever happened at Mississippi State 3 years
I
ago.
wouldn't be opposed, honestly, just starting with the 2-point plays right away.
I would, because I don't want it to end too fast. I love the multiple. It's pretty. College overtime is so fun.
I'm guilty of this.
In a game like that with a 20-point underdog.
I usually a lot with a 20-point underdog, and that happens sometimes, right? The Pac-12 game could be like Washington against Arizona State or USC against Arizona, where it's a huge spread. I've watched football all day, and then I watch so much football on Sunday that I can't. I'm not gonna watch. Maybe I'll watch a couple series. I actually came into that game late because I just assumed it's gonna be your fucking 60-30. I don't need to see. What am I gonna learn? I didn't watch any of the first half, and then I flipped it on, probably 9 o'clock, and it was tied. I'm like, well, there hasn't really been a crazy upset so far in college football. I could see this. This team's.
Yeah.
I was glued second half.
You knew it was 17.
I didn't budge. No. That's what it was. They were winning. I think I kind of noticed that, so I was kind of keeping an eye on it. usually I don't even pay attention to it.
Yeah.
That was a game I kind of paid attention to, and then maybe I came right. Actually, I was having a couple cocktails right before the end of the half. They made it 14-17. I'm like, I think I got it. But then I assumed like UCLA or USC was going to fly by them, and when that didn't happen, I think that's one of those 3 quarters. I didn't watch all the second quarter, but the second half into overtime is the best college football game beside like everything that was that Colorado TCU I've watched this year. Just the entertainment level of like, this is fucking crazy what potentially could happen.
You said Colorado State, Colorado.
I didn't see that. That's probably number one. I missed that one.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I watched the TCU Colorado
Because the Colorado State game was like fury. There was just so much, that wasn't even a college football game. It was something else,
That was a sporting event.
An event.
Because I don't think as many people, right, however many people, that set a record.
Yeah.
I doubt there were as many people watching that
chance.
game because of Arizona.
Right.
I do think one thing that will benefit this move, they would never put Michigan, Ohio State in that time slot, right, on the West Coast. They would never waste the rating. Would be my guess.
In the 7 p.m.
7:30 kickoff.
p.m. Yeah. Right.
The late, I mean, they're going to be, if they're playing USC.
Not. You would think they would just be playing noon, 1
or 4.
4s, yeah.
To me, though, that could be instead of like the eyeball, if they could have done that game against Wisconsin or Penn State, and no offense to Arizona, they're actually pretty good.
They are good. That's part of the stories. They're good. They played well against Washington the week before. Washington, Oregon this week, game day, college game day will be there.
I have a hard time seeing USC beating those 2 teams.
Yeah, and they have to beat UCLA, and I have news for you. If UCLA had a veteran quarterback, they could win the league. UCLA is really good.
But I think what he's doing is smart.
I agree. But there was 18 days when Dylan Gabriel was committed to them when they thought DTR was going to go pro. If they had Dylan Gabriel, UCLA could win the Pac-12 this year. Their defense is fucking... Anthony Lynn is his defensive... Anthony Lynn's son is UCLA's defensive coordinator.
Didn't know that.
Danton Lynn. He came from the Ravens. There are 3 teams. I haven't looked. Yesterday I looked because I was doing the postgame. 3 teams in the nation, top 15 in offensive and defensive yards per play. It was Notre Dame, Oregon, and UCLA. UCLA's number 1 in the nation in defensive yards per play.
Their quarterback not playing well? I didn't watch that game.
He's fine. I mean, he's a true freshman. Threw a couple touchdowns, but he's like 50% yesterday. Not good on third downs. Like, it's just tough. It's just playing like a freshman.
Washington State's good.
Ball, and their defense is fucking... Yeah, Washington State's offense has been explosive, and they suffocated them. I mean, he threw a 90-yard pick six right before the half. Dante Moore did. They were about to kind of like slam the door on Washington State by halftime, and he threw a bad pick six.
So he's thrown several pick sixes because he threw one against Utah.
Yeah, well, they've only given up 7 offensive points each of the last 2 weeks, UCLA's defense, but he's thrown 2 pick sixes.
Here's what I know about USC. I didn't quite realize UCLA's defense was that good, so they're clearly pretty good. I knew their win yesterday was pretty impressive. USC could lose 4 games, right?
Yeah.
Oregon, Washington, Utah, and UCLA. They can lose those games.
Utah, if Cam Rising's there in 2 weeks, which doesn't feel like he's going to be.
So he might not even return this year.
Well, he did an interview the other day. He finally revealed that he blew out 5 different... He named a thing that I'd never... It was like PCL, MCL, LCL, and then he was like, and the PCMCL. I'm like, I'd never even heard of that one. So... And I was talking to our buddy Shane Vereen yesterday. He's like, his knee was probably hurt before it got hurt because you can't blow all those things out on the play that he got hurt on. Because remember, he was playing last year on a knee brace. You could, if you're him, just get all the NIL money this year and then come back again next year. Which I don't think that's what he's thinking. He's just not cleared yet. His thing was like, this is not an ACL injury. So he hasn't come back yet. I don't know when he's going to be back. But you're not wrong. I mean, Utah, SC plays Utah well at home, but they got Caleb. But yeah, they play Notre Dame on the road this week. Anyway, okay, that's that. Right?
What a night. Yeah.
You just went.
Sorry, hit me. I realized I was like, pocket's a little.
We've been on a long time. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging. I'll talk to you soon later.